More international flavor in the mailbag. And today we ask, which assistant coach faces the most pressure in Lincoln?
You are Locked On Nebraska, your daily Nebraska Cornhuskers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, and thanks for making Locked On Nebraska your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get podcasts and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day. And this episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use the code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year.
All right, welcome everybody. Friday mailbag time. Connor Happer here from 1620 The Zone. Mitch Sherman from The Athletic. The next time we speak will be Monday, which will be last episode from home base for a couple days. Mitch will be out in Vegas for Big Ten Media Days on Tuesday. There'll be plenty to talk about. A preseason poll coming out next week. I mean, can you believe it? It's basically,
We're there, baby.
It's amazing. I this feels like a fast summer to me. I mean, it's not over, but it feels like it's been a fast paced off season to me. I don't know why.
Yeah, we'll preview storylines for Big Ten Media Days on Monday before I fly out of town. And then we'll find a place. There, I saw a very scary note from the Big Ten about broadcasting anything within the Mandalay Bay complex and how you have to get the permission of the MGM and their people. So I've completely ignored that to date. I'm not sure. I might be out on the strip with my laptop doing a podcast. There would be many more stranger things going on the Vegas Strip than me doing a live podcast. So if we have to do that, we'll do that. You
would not be the weirdest person on the strip. That's for sure. Even if you were doing the Locked On Nebraska podcast. So we look forward to wherever Mitch is coming to us from on Tuesday, but 2 pods until then. This one's yours. The Friday mailbag. Let's dive into it. From Nathan in Colwich, Kansas. Nathan, this
is the man.
Yeah, this is our map guy. So he wanted to let us know that he has something in the works for a new map presentation on something other than Google Maps, so we can make the map international. Didn't have the time with the work schedule this week. That's okay. Take your time, Nathan. Of course, this is free labor, so whatever. It's on you. I will have it ready for next week. In the meantime, we do have an updated U.S. map through last week's show, and we have it here. If you're watching along with us on YouTube today, the dots, just missing a little bit in the Rocky Mountains. Anybody in Nevada, Utah, Idaho, Montana,
That's actually the old map. As we're going through here today, right. I'm gonna upload the new one, but I showed you the old map. I just realized that.
Well, we'll get some more going in, but the updated full world map will be released on the Friday mailbag next week. Let's get to the question here from Nathan. A good one. What is the best Husker football team that did not win a national title? He says, I know everybody's going to say 83, but hot take, I think 99. Had Osborne not retired, that team would have won the title convincingly. Certainly that is a good case, and probably the first 2 teams on everybody's mind, maybe, Mitch?
Yeah, I mean, don't sleep on 82.
Yep, 82.
I know it's a long time ago, and there's probably some viewers and listeners out there who don't even know what I'm talking about, but that was the team that lost to Penn State on the catch that if instant replay had existed at the time, Todd Blackledge throwing to the corner of the end zone. It's ruled inbounds for a touchdown. He was out of bounds. And is that right? I have that right. Yeah.
He didn't. He was at the Jet Award. Todd Blackledge was this year at the Jet Award gala, and he can't step foot in Nebraska without somebody mentioning that play to him. And he talked about it a little bit.
Kirk Bowman, the reserve tight end who caught that pass. Yeah, and Nebraska went undefeated from there on out and beat, was it Clemson in the bowl game that year? So that was a great Nebraska team. It wasn't probably as good as the 83 team that lost 31-30 against Miami in the Orange Bowl and could have secured the national championship with the extra point, but Tom Osborne famously went for 2. I will agree with Nathan, though, and say 99. I think 99 was the best all-around team for Nebraska that did not win a title, and that team avenged its only loss against Texas in the Big 12 championship, and then smoked Tennessee in the Fiesta Bowl. I don't think that was Florida State win that title. I don't think Florida State wanted a piece of Frank Solich's team that year, and it wouldn't have gone well for the Noles.
I'll still say 83 just because they smoked everybody until that national championship game. Basically, there was only a couple close calls really throughout the season. I think if we're to spend another minute or so on this, like you could go post 2001, and Nebraska's only had a couple contenders in this category. Like, this is basically in my consciousness of Husker football. The only real threats would have been 09 and 10 probably. But we talked about an alternate world this year on our radio shows on the Zone, because we're bored about what happens if they win the title game in 12, the Big Ten title game in 12. Obviously they don't win the national championship, but there's a whole alternate universe where Bo's in a different place and all those different things. So that's a separate conversation, probably not on a national championship level.
Those are great conversations to have, the alternate universe conversations. Yeah. All right, we got a lot of questions, so let's get to Hugh.
Okay, here's Hugh from a unknown location. Which position coach, in your opinion, has the most pressure on them this season?
Oh, I'll probably just stick with EJ Barthel. I think that's an easy choice. There's so many new position coaches at Nebraska this year, and the coaches who are back. And you know what? I'm gonna swing that. I'm gonna change. I'm gonna change and say Donovan Raiola. I think there's a lot expected from the O-line this year, and if they got it, they should be good. Like, there's no excuse, because they have depth, and if there are injuries, then you have pieces to plug in. And he's worked with a number of these linemen over the course of their careers. He's the longest tenured coach on the Nebraska staff, period. So I think it's him, and I'll shift away from Barthel, because I think, the pressure's on the running backs, and I suppose it's indirectly on him, but they have what they have. And if they don't have a lot to work with, then sure. They should have found a way to put him in a better position, but I'm going to go with Donnie and leave it at that.
Been around for a long time. There's a lot of, there's some confidence around that group. I'll nominate John Butler here. First year defensive coordinator. The defense Rhule has always said that, the defense is going to be good as long as I'm here. So, I think there's this sense that it's not, completely his responsibility. He has some help there, but Nebraska needs to be good on defense. And it's a big spot for him, because I think he sacrificed a lot to get this job and to get in this position to prove himself, that he can run a defense at the collegiate level, and then maybe do it again at the NFL level someday. So I think it's a big year for him, and in Nebraska's shoes too.
Yep.
Oh, what do we got there?
I don't know what I just did there. I tried to put the map up, but it came in as a background. I have a new map. Well, we're going to get it figured out. We're going to get it figured out here. Lucas in St. Louis, Mo. I always enjoy listening to your show. My question is, which true freshman do you think will make the biggest impact this season?
Ooh, that's really good. Let's see. I would probably say Cortez Mills probably goes toward the top of that list. Who else comes to mind? Isaiah Mosey. I think there's probably
two guys. Yeah, you look around. Maybe before the season began. Before the spring season began, the spring semester, you would have looked at the linebacker spot. But Dawson Merritt ended up getting hurt. Nebraska picks up Marcus Watson-Trent from the portal, and I think there's a lot expected of him. Christian Jones was a candidate. I'm going on the offensive side, and the obvious is I'm going to go Mosey, because I think that there's something in store that we weren't necessarily expecting until maybe later this summer. Like, he's going to
play a little bit of running back. Yeah,
he's going to play some running back. Yeah.
That's that'll be exciting to hear Rhule talk about a little bit next week. There is the updated map still with gaps in the Rocky Mountain area. So
come on, Idaho. Let's go, Utah.
Yeah, let's fill it up. We're in Salt Lake City here. All right, let's go to Vince in Napa, where there is most certainly a pin. He says, "Hey fellas, happy Friday from Napa. Isn't it comical how a segment of Nebraska fans don't want to talk about Scott Frost because it's living in the past, yet they seem to forget that Nebraska fans are the definition of living in the past. His words, not mine. The problem is not talking about the past, but how you contextualize it. Frost's version of talking about the past as it pertains to his ill-fated Husker coaching stint involves playing the victim, eschewing accountability. I have such contempt for him now that I hope his teams lose every game. I don't think Vince is alone there. Conversely, Matt Rhule occasionally references his failed stint with the Panthers without being asked because it comes from a place of malice or escaping accountability. He generally talks about how it humbled him and how he's using it as a way to make himself a better coach. I think it's a good observation.
Good observation. Yeah. Great observation, Vince.
Yeah. No doubt about it. Should we go to Gigi in Las Cruces?
Yeah. Let's get Gigi in here.
With reports of Ohio State, Georgia, Texas, and Illinois partnering with Learfield to bring their NIL operations in-house, what is the benefit of doing this? Do you think 1890 and Nebraska athletics will follow this new model?
This is a great question. I had to do a little bit of research on this one. So these schools are, in fact, partnering with Learfield to essentially run their NIL operations. And will Nebraska do this with its multimedia company, Playfly? I think it's a great question for Troy Dannon, and whether discussions are underway or planned to do something, because Nebraska, well, and it was Trev Alberts who brokered the deal with Playfly a few years ago, but it was forward thinking. And I think if you ask Trev what he envisioned, it was something exactly like this. If NIL ever became a big part of this, that they would be well positioned with their media company to handle it in a way that Ohio State, Georgia, Texas, and others are doing. The question that I was left wondering, and you hinted at it, Gigi, about 1890, is what then becomes of the collectives. And part of the reason that schools would be enticed or attracted to having this kind of an operation for companies like Learfield or Playfly is because there has been some guidance from Congress that, or at somewhere at the government level, that collectives are kind of in trouble with what they're allowed to do, what they're allowed to be. My understanding or my expectation is that collectives will not go away, but you may see them shift again in what they do. If NIL operations largely go inside, and it's not really inside if Learfield or Playfly does it, it's just more closely affiliated and aligned with the university because there's an existing relationship that those companies have. You just may see something like the collective as we know it now, 1890 at Nebraska, become more of a marketing agency.
Yeah. And as far as who works where and who does what, who comes in house, I think it's going to be a lot of the same people probably, would be my guess. And then how do you structure it? It's a great question. It's a question that probably gets asked and maybe answered next week. All right, quick timeout. We have more questions from you on the other side after a word from our sponsors. And that sponsor here is Monarch Money. Ever wish managing your money felt a little bit easier with Monarch Money? It can. Whether you're growing your savings or planning a big purchase, Monarch puts you in the driver's seat. It's like having your own personal CFO. They give you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money, more than a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center where you could track all your accounts, investments, and spending all in one place. So in addition to managing your money, you're also building that wealth. So there is an opportunity for you to get out in front of things with Monarch Money. If you share your finances with someone, you have the ability to then bring them into the equation as well. It's an excellent tool for you and the growth of your family as well. Take control of your finances today with Monarch Money. Use the code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com and you get 50% off your first year. monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONCollege for half off your first year.
Friday Mailbag Show, back with you. Mitch Sherman, Connor Happer. We go to John in Iowa. We got lots of questions, so jumping right in. I'd still love to hear your take, John says, on the idea of the Big Ten using championship weekend to bolster the resume of teams on the outside of the playoff looking in, even if the SEC dupes everyone into adopting the 5+11 model. Would pitting Big Ten contenders against each other on that final weekend allow the winners to jump into the playoff? Or is the strength of schedule metric going to be so fraudulent that teams playing 8 conference games still rank higher than those who play 10?
I mean, in the scenario where it's 5+11, I would imagine those playing games don't exist.
You wouldn't think. And I think he's asking, might they still keep them in order to give those teams a boost? But the trouble you run into is
they can
could knock teams out.
Right. Yeah. So I don't think you want to put them through
more wear and tear also.
You wouldn't want to put them through a 10th conference game that's not the Big Ten championship game unnecessarily. I think the conference is strong enough where its resume would be up there. And you know, I know the SEC likes it, you know, they have all those teams ranked near the top at the end of the year. And it's masked in some way by the fact that they only play 8 conference games. At the same time, the Big Ten is a really well-respected conference, and there is going to be that many teams in every year. I am in support, for the record, of the 5+11. I don't feel as if I'm being duped by the SEC. It's just the one I prefer for the greater good of the sport.
Yeah, the only way you're going to see that play-in weekend is if it's a 4+4 model, and Big Ten's the only one supporting it right now. So we'll hear from Tony Petitti on Tuesday, and we'll be very interested to hear what he says about that. All right, from Dalton, lifelong Husker. I'm a pilot and listen to you guys all the time. Makes the flights go by way quicker. Love hearing that. I hope we don't put you to sleep. I live in Montevideo, Minnesota. Keep up the good work. We all know the special teams cost Nebraska at least 2 games last year with Mike Eckler coaching. Do you think instead of special teams losing games, they may be able to swing games in our favor? Or is this more a scheme issue with special teams?
Yeah, for me, it's sort of a wait and see thing. The hope is initially it's not a huge crater that blows up games, you know, going forward as it has been, and you build a base and then eventually, you know, you go from there. But, you know, in order to flip that, I do think you can mask a lot of schematics issues that Nebraska's had over the last several years with a really good returner or a really good kicker or a really good punter. And Nebraska hasn't had great specialists either. So I do think that is a part of it to, you know, former coaches who have talked about this a lot. Frost was certainly one of them. Like, hey, we just didn't kick the ball in the right direction. That's not a me problem. That's that guy. Mm-hmm. You know, that was kind of his thing. He's right. But that doesn't mean Nebraska doesn't have other issues on that.
It's not. I'm not real fond of that. Maybe if it happens once, but that excuse over and over is not.
He's right. They got to have guys make field goals, and they got to have guys return punts, and you know, there's that too.
And Eckler is addressing the scheme too, so it's not like he's just bringing in his people. If anything, he's going to be able to address the scheme more quickly than the personnel. Although they have turned the personnel quite a bit, at least as far as the specialists go. And I think what you'll see with the returners as well. From Jake in Fremont, is Nebraska still in a drought for losing against ranked opponents, or did the Colorado game in that? Will they defeat a ranked opponent this season? If so, predictions, who?
I don't think Colorado was ranked.
Yeah, Colorado was ranked at the end of the year. That doesn't count.
No.
Nebraska's lost 27 consecutive games against ranked opponents, dating to a 2016 win against Oregon. So you have to be ranked at the time of the game in order for the streak to end in the way that statistic works. So
Michigan's going to probably be your first crack at it.
Yeah.
And then you'll probably have 2, 3, 4 more throughout the rest of the year. I mean, that's basically the average for Nebraska, and they've lost every single one of them.
Penn State certainly will be ranked. USC you'd think is a possibility. Iowa's always in the neighborhood. So will it end this year? I mean, I think I predicted it would end last year. So yeah. Okay. I say it ends. It ends in 2025. And
I'm okay with rolling those dice too. But man, it's really difficult to believe that, and that's why you play the odds, I think, in this case. But dice keep rolling against you at this moment. They'll have shots just like they always do. Just got to be able to come through with one.
All right, from Meg in Omaha, my question is about whether we have enough height in our receiving room. I know Nebraska has several slot receivers that have speed. Are the outside receivers tall enough, or do they have enough hops to out-jump DBs to catch 50-50 balls? It did not seem like the two receivers last year had enough, or hardly ever came down with 50-50 balls. Just talking about Isaiah Nair and Jamal Banks. Yeah.
Well, I would say anecdotally, Banks and Nair were two of the biggest guys on the outside that they've had in a while. I mean, Banks is a really big physical guy. And
he won a few. Yeah.
And I mean, look around at the best receivers in the NFL. They're not, there's no Andre Johnsons out there really anymore. There's no Julio Jones out there anymore. Like these guys are more, shifty and not the true necessarily. It's like they're just jet sweep guys, but they can win deep balls with their athleticism and they get open, right? So I don't think it's necessarily about height or whatever. It's just, can you create separation?
For the record, Dane Key is listed at 6'3", so he's got size. And Isaiah Hunter is listed at 6'2". Nebraska has Jeremiah Jones, the freshman who's drawing attention from the coaching
Quinn
staff.
Clark is really tall.
6'4" for Jeremiah Jones. Quinn Clark is 6'5". So, some of the guys that we've spent a lot of time talking about, Ja'Cory Barney, 6 foot. Cortez Mills is listed at 6 foot. Isaiah Mosey is 6'1". So Janiron Bonner is not a real big guy. He's big, but he's listed at 6'2". So, but they have some size. They have some size. Key's going to be wide receiver 1, I think, lining up on August 28th. And at 6'3", that's plenty big enough to get you what you need on the outside.
Yeah, I think so too.
All right. One more before the break from Dave. New pin for you in Kaohsiung, Taiwan. We're going to Taiwan.
Nice.
By way of the original Elkhorn.
I do not know how to pronounce that, and I think you did admirably.
Kaohsiung,
maybe. I'm not sure.
Yeah, there's an H before the S. Kaohsiung, Taiwan. Taiwan is what is important. That's amazing. Thank you, Dave. I'm taking it you're not native to Taiwan, but whatever it is that Dave does there, it's good to hear from you. What would it take realistically in terms of offensive line development, receiver consistency, and play calling philosophically for Dylan Raiola to throw for 3,000 yards, 20 touchdowns, and keep his interceptions under 10? Is that a stretch or genuinely within reach if everything clicks?
Yeah, that seems very reachable.
230 a game is what you're looking at.
Yeah, there hasn't been very many Nebraska quarterbacks to go over 3,000 yards in a season, but that doesn't mean, Nebraska probably has, Nebraska, I think certainly has its best offensive coordinator post Osborne, right now. And they have probably their most highly touted quarterback post Osborne as well. So I think that's a really good start for a combination. 20 touchdowns. I think you got to throw at least 20. You'd like that number to be closer to 25 for Dylan. And the yards will come with that. And the key would be keeping that interception number under 10 if the numbers aren't that explosive. So very reachable goal. I think that's a good base for Dylan Raiola. You want him to get to at least those numbers, I'd say.
Case Keenum was the quarterback for Dana Holgorsen when he was the OC at Houston in
Dana Holgorsen.
08 and 09. That was half of his career. In his entire career, I don't have the breakdown of those 2 years, but in Case Keenum's entire career, he threw for more than 19,000 yards. So 3,000 in a season, Dana can call that game. He can call that game.
I'll tell you the 2 seasons, 08 and 09, 5,020 and 56-71. I believe that 56-71 was an all-time record at the time for single season. I think it was pretty close.
Okay.
It may have been passed.
Wow. All right, let's take a break. Come back. We got some questions about the offensive line and the defensive line. That's next.
All right, welcome back on a Friday mailbag show. Rolling through your questions here. Appreciate you guys submitting them as always, and we'll get that map. We'll get the map going for you next week. Let's see, where did we leave off here? Ted. Hey guys. Well, it's the one that's highlighted and bolded, probably. Hey guys, enjoy listening daily. Please put a pin in for Bristol, Rhode Island. All right, drop it in there.
Never heard of that. Never heard of Bristol, Rhode Island.
My question is, do you see Teddy Prohaska or Turner Corcoran playing a major role in the offensive line this season? Does either one start? It seems like they're wild cards due to previous injuries, or do you see younger guys surpassing them on the depth chart?
I don't see either one as a starter in week one, but part of why I mentioned or identified Donovan Raiola as the coach with the most pressure on him to be successful this year is because of this depth. And there really is no excuse for the offensive line in 2025. And part of that depth is going to be the experience of Teddy Prohaska and Turner Corcoran. It's unclear at this point exactly where they fit in. And, you hear the summer reports and, the conversations around the team that these two guys are healthy and ready to go. They've been there before where they've been healthy and ready to go. And then preseason camp comes and day one or, day 5, one or both of them is hurt. Like Teddy Prohaska is predisposed to getting injured. Like I'm not, that's just the fact of the matter. Like he has gotten hurt often, and they have to figure out a way to use him so that he gives himself the best chance to stay healthy. Like it just may not even be physically possible because he's, the way that he's built, he's so tall. Turner Corcoran's just been through a lot physically. So we'll see.
Go ahead. You can finish up.
They are wild cards. Yeah, no, you can pick up. I don't see them as starters from day one.
I'd put them right squarely in the conversation of, whatever you get from them as far as reps are concerned. Like I think it's different probably from a leadership characteristic because they're the guys who have been around for a long time. And I think they're well-respected guys in the team, but like whatever you get from them from a rep perspective should be viewed as a bonus. Let's go to Noel in Clarksville, Tennessee. I believe he's a frequenter of the mailbag. With all the recent discussion and rankings of the college quarterbacks and where Dylan Raiola should be placed appropriately, I wonder if you've ever done a decade-by-decade ranking of Nebraska's best quarterbacks or perhaps a Mount Rushmore of Nebraska quarterbacks. As always, love the pod.
Yeah, I mean, so you want us to rank the quarterbacks within each decade?
Yeah.
It could be a project at some point. I will give you a Mount Rushmore that I just configured here as Connor was reading this question.
It's not all that debatable for the top 4, is it? I mean,
I don't think it is.
Yeah.
Mount Rushmore's got to have 4. So
yeah.
I don't think it is. I mean, I think they're like the second 4 would be more debatable, but it's Tommy Frazier, Turner Gill, Jerry Taggy, Eric Crouch. End of story.
That feels right to me. And then if you're going decade by decade, like there's some interesting conversations in there. If you go, if you go like the 2010s, is it Taylor Martinez or is it Tommy Armstrong? Both played 4 years in that decade. Who would be the guy right now for the leader in the clubhouse for this decade so far? Be kind of interesting, but the rest of them kind of have their decades. With Frazier obviously in the 90s and Gill in the 80s and Crouch probably takes the 2000s and Taggy's in the 70s, right? So you kind of have it right there.
Yeah. There you go. All right. Matt, he's watching the show in Vienna, Austria. Looking forward to every episode. Wondering if stadium steaks, aka Fairbury hot dogs, are still going to be floating around the stands on game day. Just wondering with all the changes to food in the stadium. I don't think the food's changing that much, at least not with the old staples. Fairbury dogs will be there.
the Hawkers are changing. If there is, the Hawkers will have to be at least 18 now, I think, or something.
Okay.
I believe that was the thing that came across this summer, which caused a stir. But no, you'll have to pry those red hot dogs from our cold dead hands. Never going away. Just like Valentino's
going
pizza.
away. Matt in Elkhorn asks, 4 years ago Monday, or he tells us, 4 years ago Monday, Trev Alberts left UNO for Lincoln. How do you view his legacy, or does he have one as the Nebraska athletic director?
Well, he hired Matt Rhule, and he fired Scott Frost. And it's hard to say what came of him firing Frost when he did, although there was much discussion about it. Ultimately to fire him still in the middle of the season and not ultimately save the money that they set out to save with paying his buyout, and hiring Frost, I think, is viewed as a really good move. I'm sorry, not Frost, Rhule is a really good move. So maybe it's sort of undecided. I think Trev stabilized a lot in the Nebraska athletic department, to be honest with you.
He positioned Nebraska for the next step, which Troy Dannon has frankly handled more smoothly than what Trev was able to do because of some of his history, his interests, his connections that ran very deep within Nebraska athletics. So, I mean, Trev, part of Trev's legacy will be that he left Nebraska, that he hightailed it out of town and went to Texas A&M. But to say that is the complete legacy, no, because like you said, he got rid of Scott Frost when it needed to be done and did some other things to move Nebraska into the future of college athletics.
Yeah, I think it's a positive one.
Yeah. All right, we're gonna go with we're gonna combine a couple questions here, both about the defensive line. From Scott in Windsor, Ontario, he says losing Ty and Nash is going to hurt a lot more than I think people are talking about. Who's going to plug up the line, stop the run, be the wall on 4th and goal? I can only think of Van Poppel. I like Cam Lenhart, but he's not in that role. Elijah Judy is a backup at most playoff contenders. Is there anyone else who you think can be that guy for the season or beyond? And then also from Connor, lots of new bodies and limited experience on the D line. Who do you think will be the biggest surprise? Thanks. Love the show.
Yeah, I do think you'll feel the effects of not having Ty and Nash in there, specifically in the situation that Scott mentioned, just walling up. And I think they did that really well. I think Nebraska will be a different kind of defense this year, not necessarily in the schematics, but just in the way they operate and where their strength is. Because it's probably not up front. It's probably in the middle or the back of the defense. And I don't think that's a huge problem. But you do have to have some guys step up. And that's where we get to the second question.
Yeah, some of that might be from the Jack Backer spot. They have depth and talent there with McGahee and McCullough. And you may see those guys in the game at the same time. Now they're not as big. They're not going to be big run stoppers who are plugging things in the middle on 4th and goal, but extra bodies that the line can help. Of course, you can only play 11. So it's going to be an interesting thing to see. There's not an obvious candidate for me, Scott, who can be the guy, or I guess Connor asked that question, who will be the biggest surprise? We talked about Keona Davis on the show Thursday, but I think everybody knows his name. Everybody understands what kind of potential he holds as a pass rush specialist. Same thing with Williams Winery. In the middle, maybe one of the junior college transfers. I'm sorry, not junior college, but transfers, the guys from small schools out of the portal who came in the winter and weren't as healthy as Nebraska wanted them to be in the spring. Those guys, I suppose you could say, would be classified as a surprise if something happens where they end up stepping into a big role. Yeah, Jalen George and then Gabe Moore, who's a sophomore from Mississippi State. Both could be considered, big, would be considered surprises if they turn into something big.
Yeah, a couple guys who have had injuries throughout their careers, and we'll see how they come back. Brody Tagaloa, Sua Lefotu. Those are a couple guys in there who who have just been hurt for their entire career. So,
all right, give me
maybe.
Give me that.
I just deleted it.
So we have a question here from Zach.
No.
He wanted to contribute to the mailbag, and he asked us what we think about the college football 26 ratings for Dylan Raiola.
Dylan Raiola, who was listed as an 88, and DJ Lagway, who was listed at a 90, even though DJ Lagway only played like 6 games last year.
Wow. This is a whole Dylan Raiola versus DJ Lagway like week here. That we have.
It's a thing. It's become a thing.
I have not played much with Dylan Raiola yet. I've played against Dylan Raiola because I don't really like to be Nebraska in my dynasties that I play with that game. So I've played against him a couple times. He's very fast. They run a lot of read option with him.
He's fast on the game. Okay.
Yeah, he's very fast. He killed me on the grade. Ran for like 100 yards against me. So I don't know. It doesn't seem that inappropriate to see.
I'm not surprised that Lagway is 2 points higher than Raiola in his rating, because Lagway is like, he's the fresh hot item, because he didn't go through ups and downs. Like, he only played half of a season. So.
Never saw him be bad. That's Dylan. Dylan unfortunately had that last year.
All right, we got one more question from Michael. He says, put a pin in Mexico City, where I listen to the podcast most mornings while walking our dog in one of the best parks in the world.
Whoa.
So we now, just in this show, have pins in Mexico City, Taiwan, and Vienna, Austria. He says that's in addition to London from last week. Are you surprised that the clearinghouse wasn't instantly sued? And then part 2, with the addition of rev share to athletic departments, it's likely going to be hard for schools to afford or stomach the payouts for fired coaches. So do these contracts have clauses related to ethics and behavior on off the field?
Yes.
Historically, the use of conduct behavior issues by coaches have mostly been swept under the rugs. Do you foresee more administrations doing firings for cause related to these kinds of issues as a way to get out of the huge payouts?
That's a really easy way to open yourself up to a lawsuit. So
and set a bad precedent and never want any coach to come work for you again.
That's dirty. That's dirty ball right there. So I don't think so. But I mean, to the first point, it's possible that there's not as quite of a short leash on coaches who, they can't, or maybe the whole coaching salary buyout thing will stabilize anyway. What leverage do the coaches have in reality to say I have to have a $80 million buyout on my contract? Maybe that stuff just comes down. So maybe that's a positive that comes out of this.
I could see it coming down. I could also see the money just continuing to funnel in.
Yeah,
that may be the case too.
Yeah.
But the as for the clearinghouse and the CSC and Deloitte getting sued, I'd say stay tuned. Like there have been numerous. There's been talk of numerous lawsuits that are already in the works, and I know we haven't had like a big bombshell like this person is. It's not like there's not like a house case type thing out there yet, but it's only been a couple weeks. So just wait. And I think that when denials start to come on the larger deals, then you'll see lawsuits.
Yeah, there was only the one quote. Like bleep Deloitte or whatever it was. I think people are going to try and challenge the clearinghouse. That's for sure. All right. Great job, everybody. Thank you for submitting your questions. As always, been a good week of shows, and we're looking forward to kicking this thing off for season number 2 for us here on the Locked On Nebraska podcast. Just less than 6 weeks away now. Get ready, Platte City QT. We're coming. Thanks for making Locked On Nebraska your first listen today. For your second listen, check out the Portal Show with Brian Smith, who's got everything and more on the Portal. Find it on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts.